There's not much worse in life if you're a guy, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but if you're out doing your thing and some chick will start talking to you when her boyfriend is right there, sometimes they're even holding hands. It's a little rude on her part to do that, because when she does that, you as a guy can't have the conversation you want to have with her, because that would be unfair to the guy. And there's an unspoken rule amongst guys that almost no guy follows that I've ever met, but they should, and that's never cock block anybody. So she puts you into a situation where you have to cock block that guy that she's talking to or hands holding with or dating is fucking rude. And in order for you to actualize yourself as a man, you have to be able to talk to what your potential significant other would be. I'm sure the gay community has their own problems with this as well. So, I mean, if you're there and somebody you're interested in, like, starts talking to you and they're with a significant other, if a guy did that to you as a chick, you wouldn't like that very much, because you'd be like, what the hell is this guy talking to me for when he's got a chick holding her hand? So don't do that. That's rude. I can't do what I want to do with your boyfriend there, and for you to put me into that situation where I would have to cock block him in order to have a conversation with you is really crummy. You wouldn't want it to happen to you. So, I mean, if you like me, sure, talk to me. But if you got a boyfriend, don't bother. I mean, if I'm like in your store or your restaurant or something, and I'm buying food or whatever, or there's some sort of professional reason why you would need to talk to me, that all makes sense. But if it's just like two people out on the street, and then one of them is the kind of mate that you would want, starts talking to you, like, she's there with her boyfriend, she starts talking to you, you need to put her in her place and say, the worst part of this is that these chicks keep trying to talk to me when they have a boyfriend there, and that's really rude. And just walk away, let it go. At least she'll know not to do it again, and possibly she'll have a story to tell her girlfriends where she was trying to talk to some guy and she was holding hands with her boyfriend, but she began a conversation and this dude said, look, I'm not interested if you're going to put me into this situation. And that'll get around to the chicks that you're not willing to put up with their shit, which is really what you want. Because if they keep doing it, that's on them. That's rude. They're going to be told every time that it's not polite to talk to some single guy when you have a boyfriend, especially if he's right there. Why you're concerned is no business of yours. You shouldn't be concerned about people that much to where you have to talk to somebody when you have a boyfriend. I've experienced this at churches too, where some chick will start coming up to me because I don't participate in the ritual. I'll listen, but I won't say amen and stuff like that. And it's pretty obvious that I'm one of the only atheists there. I go to church sometimes because, well, it's free food and it's an opportunity to potentially meet women. And, you know, bars aren't really good places to meet women because they're noisy. So sometimes I just go to church and listen. It's not going to convince me, but I'm not going to disrupt their path. And I might even share some things about my life. They don't care if you're not too religious. They might say things like, well, God will help you. And just, you know, as an atheist, you should just like nod your head and say, okay. Or just nod your head. Just acknowledge that they exist as people. So I might actually start going to bigger churches. I'm not really looking for religion, but I know that I can have a conversation with a woman about religion to where it would be an interesting conversation, and I think that it's important for different people who view things a little different to know each other. So I mean, if you're a Jew, go to a church. If you're a Christian, go to a mosque. You really should breach outside your comfort zone and try to find things that aren't you. You know what I mean? Like, why people need somebody exactly like them is a bit simplistic to me. I play board games and I collect board games. I don't really play them very often, but I collect them. My parents don't really have too much in common when they met, you know. How my mom met my stepdad is my stepdad was selling his house after his divorce, and then they just started sleeping together. My dad repaired my stepmom's Corvette, and that's how they met. But like, they're just regular people, you know what I mean? They do regular baby boomer things. They drink sometimes, they hang out with their friends, they play board games sometimes, they talk. It's good to have things in common with your significant other, but you don't have to have everything in common, and you don't need to know that right away. But if some chick approaches you on the street and you're a dude, you could do one or two things. You could be polite and turn her down because that's rude of her to even do that. Or you could just talk to her like the guy isn't there. Because her doing that put you into that situation, so fuck that guy. If he's not man enough to keep her attention somehow, he deserves to get cock-blocked. I'm not saying that you should prey on weak people. I mean, if you are... I was in a situation once where these guys introduced me to this chick. I danced with her, and then they took her, and 8 of these dudes had sex with her in the other room, and I didn't. There's been a lot of situations where, like, I've been friends with the guy, so I became friends with the girl. And that's different. I was always like the third wheel, but that kind of friendship I think is okay. For someone to start a friendship with you when they have a significant other and they're like local, it's not over the internet or something. Like, I've got a lot of friends that are female that are like across the world, over Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and a lot of these chicks are married and have boyfriends, but we're still friends, you know, because there's no possibility that we're going to have a relationship. So if somebody does that to you in public, in the street, or in a bar or a restaurant or something, or a store, or proprietorship of any kind, she's there, her boyfriend's there, she starts talking to you, either face her, talk to her like the boyfriend isn't worthy because she's obviously not interested in him. Or be the good guy and just say, I'm not interested in you if you have a boyfriend. It's either that or the other thing. It's not going to be just like, I'm here, but I'm not a guy. You're going to know that I'm a guy. You're going to know that I'm straight. And you're going to know that I'm interested. Or not. I mean, there are plenty of, like, women my age that try to talk to me that, you know, that's fine, but I don't really pursue it. I've dated women my own age and older. I don't really want to do it again, but friendship with them is fine. They're great friends. Married women with boyfriends, as long as they're not in my city, that's fine. But I mean, if some chick is in your city and trying to talk to you on the internet or offline, you need to make it clear up front that you're not going to talk to her if she has a boyfriend, which is the most noble thing you can do. Or fuck that guy because he can't maintain her. But that can lead to a potential argument with that guy. So I would recommend doing the noble thing, saying that you are interested, but you're not interested in chicks that have boyfriends because you're not going to force her to cheat. Do the right thing in that situation. At least she knows you're a dude, you know? It's better than stealing her away from that guy, because then you create bad blood with that guy. You don't want to do that. Plenty of guys have done that to me. Just know that there is an unspoken rule that should be on every man's shirt. Don't be a cockblock. And underneath it, maybe don't put a guy into a situation where he has to be a cockblock to some guy. Don't be a cockblock, don't be a bitch. Yes, even guys can be bitches. You know how long it's taken me to try to get people to try and play a board game with me? Guys can definitely be bitches. Or even just be my wingman. How many wingmen are there in my Instagram box from Spokane? None. You're all a bunch of bitches. Don't be a cockblock. Don't be a bitch. And there's a lot of other things in the bro code. I think that those are like almost like a religion to some people, and they really should be. Those 2 rules are awesome, I think. You know, don't, my grandfather would say this, don't cut in line, don't cut in the middle of somebody during a dance. I know there's all these movies where the guy cuts this other guy off. But in reality, if that were to happen to me, I would probably cut off the friendship with the guy. Because that was fucked up. It's a movie. It's romantic. But in actuality, most guys would say, fuck you to that guy that stole his chick. And at the most, would probably get into a fight with him. At the least, would probably just, cut off the friendship to send a message. Anybody that just sits around and lets chicks being stolen from him, I don't care if you're a communist like I am or an anarchist like I am. There are unspoken rules to being a human being that you should not broach. Putting someone into a situation where you have to talk to that chick because the guy is just holding on to her and she chooses to have a conversation with you. It's her fault, but the most you can do about it is just politely turn her down. At least that's noble. At least you're not a thief. Don't be a bitch. Don't be a cockblock.